Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sandy Teplitsky. I am a healthcare regulatory and senior counsel attorney at Baker Donelson here in Chicago. I want to thank everybody for attending today, particularly our guest speaker, who is stuck in New York, not being able to get out of the airport and into Chicago yesterday. And Dr. Gelblum will let you know that he prefers the weather in Argentina than he does in the United States, at least so far, maybe not. Um, my other job, and really my full-time job, is as a volunteer for the Simon Wiesenthal Center. I serve as a member of the Board of Trustees for this organization, and I'm proud to have played a role in expanding SWC's critical work here in the Midwest and throughout the country. I want to start by thanking Ankin Law and Howard Ankin for hosting today. They were kind enough to invite us to their offices, and perhaps we'll take them up on another program going forward as appropriate. Each of you hopefully has already registered with your name and bar number so that we can submit that for the CLE credit. On the line today, also from the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and you'll meet them a little later, is Karen Peretz, who is the Executive Vice President of Development for the Midwest, and Elena Spector, who is the Associate Director of Development. Many of you also know Allison Pure-Slovan, who is our Head of Advocacy in the region. She's actually in Florida attending an anti-Semitism conference there. Our goal is to be completed by 1 o'clock. I'll have a number of questions for our guest speaker. If you have a question along the way, please put it into the chat or raise your hand, and we'll try to take as many questions as possible. We really want to thank the Decalogue Society for partnering with the Simon Wiesenthal Center to bring this program to you today. It's a very significant topic we're here to talk about, and it says a lot about you that you have welcomed the program and that you're participating. Here in Illinois, anti-Semitism is rising at alarming rates. Assaults, vandalism, and harassment targeting the Jewish community go up every year. Chicago is home to the most incidents in the state of Illinois. That's why we have focused on strengthening the Simon Wiesenthal Center's work and programs to our crucial part of the country. As you probably know, the Simon Wiesenthal Center is an international human rights organization established in 1977 by Rabbi Marvin Hier. The center is known for Holocaust research and remembrance, hunting Nazi war criminals, combating anti-Semitism, and defending Israel, as well as tolerance education. Our outreach goes from the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles to the Mobile Museums of Tolerance. The first one in the United States was here in Illinois, and we're proud to announce that a second one will be hitting the road in just a couple of months. We also have mobile museums in Florida, California, New York, Massachusetts, and soon in Hawaii. We've also developed our Combat Hate curriculum, which we offer to schools throughout the state of Illinois at no charge. We also offer digital media literacy, law enforcement training, and programs like today. The Simon Wiesenthal Center is boldly calling out anti-Semites, introducing measures prudent to curb acts of hate, and launching revolutionary educational programs that ensure the next generation is committed to tolerance and compassion. The man I have the pleasure of introducing you to today is also an attorney, but one who has applied his legal expertise to take momentous steps toward the fight against anti-Semitism. I want to welcome Dr. Ariel Gelblum. He's the director of the Simon Wiesenthal Center's Center for Latin America. He's located in Buenos Aires, today in New York, and hopefully tomorrow in Chicago. He's one of the foremost leaders in the fight against anti-Semitism in Latin America, creatively using the justice system and legal systems as a key arena to do so. Dr. Gelblum has played a crucial role in an investigation of Argentina's infamous Nazi rat lines archives, which you'll hear about more in a few moments. His research and advocacy to Argentina's president have sparked new action in a momentous effort, holding financial institutions accountable for supporting and profiting from the Nazi regime and helping Nazi war criminals escape justice. Dr. Gelblum is often in global headlines for successfully lobbying countries to formally adopt the IHRA definition, you'll hear more about that in a moment, of anti-Semitism into law. These strategic steps have led to the prosecutions of prominent anti-Semites across Latin America. He represents the Simon Wiesenthal Center at major regional and international bodies, including the Latin American Parliament, IHRA, and the Organization of American States. He is known worldwide as a tireless advocate for justice and transparency. Dr. Gelblum, it's my honor to facilitate this discussion and to start off by asking you to provide a little information about your background and the work that you do for the Simon Wiesenthal Center.
Oh, thank you very much, Sandy. Thank you all for doing this and being here. I would like to be in person, but we couldn't today. I hope tomorrow I will be there. I'm in this appointment from the Simon Wiesenthal Center since 2015, but I was a young lawyer in 1992 when the Simon Wiesenthal Center decided to open an office in Buenos Aires, a city, well, in a country, Argentina, that has the biggest Jewish population in Latin America. In all Latin America, we have approximately 500,000 Jews. So, 200,000 in Argentina, 100 in Brazil, and 4,000 in Mexico, and so on. The reason the Simon Wiesenthal Center opened that office is in 1992, Argentina opened the so-called Nazi archives. Just 1 month later, we were victims of the first Hezbollah bombing attack at the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires. In 1993, the Simon Wiesenthal Center found the Nazi criminal Erich Priebke in Bariloche, and we extradited him and got into trial in Italy. And in 1994, the most important terrorist attack in Latin America, in history of Latin America, against the AMIA Jewish Community Center, and 85 people were dead and thousands were wounded. And of course, the Simon Wiesenthal Center had to have an office there to have an own vision of what's happening in the region. I'm a lawyer. I was called when this was in its inception, asking simply, how do I build a new institution by the by the first director in the region? So since then, I'm here and in this spot since for 11 years now.
We are very familiar with the rise in anti-Semitism here in the United States. Can you describe the state of anti-Semitism in Latin America? Is it rising as quickly as here? And what are the factors that you think are contributing to the increase?
Okay, Latin America, of course, is part of the world, and everything what's happening in other places, it's reflected in our region. But there are three different factors that are different in this region than other places in the world. First, the influence of the Iran's regime, and we are in the news now. Just a few seconds ago, I told you that in 1992 and 94, we had two bombing attacks from Hezbollah ordered by Iran. They were very active in politics, in social media, and of course in terrorism since the early 1990s. Maybe a few years after the Lebanon War, few people from Shia part of the Islam get to the triple border between Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. Since there, they helped logistically to the bombings, and of course, they usually did all the illegal transaction you can imagine in the shadows till the end of 1990s. In 1999, President Hugo Chavez became president in Venezuela, and the alliance between Venezuela and Iran was in the open light. So they don't need it anymore, the triple frontier in the south. So they moved all the center of their operations from there. Let me explain. Maybe 9 years ago, I denounced that the former vice president of Venezuela gave 150 South American passports to 150 agents of Hezbollah. And they were moving through the region with Venezuelan passports. The second and important factor is the leftist leaders obsessed with Israel and the Jewish people. The first person we have to talk about is the president of Colombia, Petro. Gustavo Petro, let me tell you this, after October 7th, he was silent. When Israel began its operations, immediately he cut diplomatic relations. He expelled the Israeli ambassador, and he appointed, hear this, he appointed as Minister of Religions a false rabbi, even a false Jew, a guy who even is not a Jew, and he said that he bought his title as a rabbi online for $150. He's the guy who is in charge of controlling the legitimacy of the Jewish institutions. So if the Jewish community went so in opposition, they will be persecuted by the government. The other important leader we have to talk about is President Lula in Brazil. Brazil is the giant of South America, and in his third mandate, he came in power in January 2024. And the first actions after what happened 2 months after October 7th was telling that Israel is worse than the Nazis. So what did we do in front of that? So the Jewish community was in trouble. As you say, they were between a rock and a hard place, because if they open up and speak up, they were be appointed as opposition, and they don't want to be labeled like that. So and the Israeli embassy was really at that point they downloaded relations. Today there is no Israeli ambassador at Brazil. There's an embassy, but there's a charge of affair. And what we did is we got in contact with one governor in February 2024. He is from opposition, but he's not against everything on the president. He's a moderate guy. and he openly adopted the IRA definition together with me. We will talk what's IRA, but I'm the only Latin American delegate at the Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial Committee. So I traveled from Buenos Aires to a small city called Goiás, the capital of the state. Goiânia is a small city that is capital of the state of Goiás, where Brasilia is there, the capital of Brazil. And of course, he signed this in a very important ceremony, and he inaugurated the Am Israel High Forest with 1,200 trees commemorating the fallen of October 7th. During the next 9 months, till November 24, we managed to get half of the states of Brazil adopted IRA definition, and between them the most important states like Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. The last particularity, the third one, is the Chilean Palestinian community. Is the biggest Palestinian community outside the Arab world. There are more than 500,000, and there's something ridiculous. Let me say. They came to Chile in the early days of the 19th century, 20th century, because they were running away from the Ottoman Empire. If you remember, being a Christian in the Ottoman Empire, you would have the same fate that the Armenians. So they ran away, they came to South America, and they, of course, became Chilean citizens. They were living in harmony with the Jewish neighbors till 2014. At that elections, in their federations, only 800 people voted and were elected new leaders that they reply the same narrative of Hamas. So together with the extreme left, they are so violent with the Jewish community. Let me give you an example. After October 7th, they organized mobs to be in the front of the most important Jewish institutions, and when a Jewish pregnant lady tried to get into the institution, they shouted her that she is carrying a future genocidal. Things like this is being a Jew today in Santiago de Chile. There's a little story about that. I was with my colleague, the Rabbi Abraham Cooper. He's a rabbi. He is with his kippah in the center of Santiago de Chile after talking with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We were waiting our Uber in a square, and a guy with a keffiyeh came to us, and very polite, he asked us, "May I ask you a question, sir?" I say, "Of course." "Why are you people so mean with Palestinian children?" So I look at him and I say, sorry, but I don't understand your question. This guy is American and I'm Argentinian. Who is you people? Who are you talking about? The guy says, okay, sorry, and he got away. But this is how common people in Chile lives. The narrative is viralized, so everyone thinks that way. So you have a great view of the differences of the actual Latin American anti-Semitism.
Ariel, we all know that the world changed after October 7th, Have you noticed any further changes after the war in Iran began?
Yes, of course. Now, for common people that they only read social media and no newspapers or nothing more, of course, Israel and the big bully on the world are attacking the poor guys in Iran. And they forget the women, they forget their tyranny, and they forget the other Arab countries that they are attacked. But this is part of what we are living today, of course.
You've mentioned a couple times the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Can,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about the definition and why it's such an important tool for fighting anti-Semitism?
Um, yes, of course. Let me explain something. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, that is IHRA, is an international institution, not a Jewish one. Uh, There are 35 countries that are full members. Let me explain. They are mostly European countries, the US, Canada, Australia, Israel, and Argentina, no more. Argentina is the only Latin American country that is full member since 2006. So more than 20 years there. And in 2016, the experts who integrate the Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial Committee, they got together a definition. So we can know from now on when we are in front of an anti-Semitic question and when not. Easily, it's less than a page, and it says anti-Semitism is hate to Jews, its institutions, its assets, or its places of worship. Of course, the second paragraph says that criticism to Israel, as it is like other countries, it's not anti-Semitism. And after that gives 11 examples where, for the experts, of course, they are anti-Semitic situations. So after this creation, like a domino, uh, a lot of countries and institutions of the civil society in the world adopted this definition. More than 2,000 institutions and more than 40 countries in the world. As a lawyer, I read more than 1,000 times the definition, and something sounds me different. And I got to understand that the last part of the definition, very, let me say, legally talking, they are the same provisions of the Argentinian anti-discrimination law from 1988. So, after Argentina adopted in 2020 the definition, and of course, during the pandemics, all of us were bored at home, so I tried to manage that other countries and Argentina as federal states, the most of the states adopted the definition. So I managed that 23 from 24 jurisdictions adopted the definitions, and the country and courts, institutions, universities, football clubs. And what I did was beginning to convince judges and prosecutors that you have to use it in court. Because having a definition telling us objectively with the examples that what kind of situations are really anti-Semitic, and if they are between the provisions of the anti-discrimination law, you have to punish. So I did it. I convinced people, I convinced the courts, and at this moment, at least we have maybe 14 or 15 court rulings using the definition. I will give you two examples as how I used it. First, maybe all in this environment know a disgusting guy called Roger Waters. He is a well-known anti-Semite, and in 2023 he was about to have his last world tour. Thanks God. And everyone in other countries tried to ban his show because of the anti-Semitic parts of it. One of them, imagine people in Munich Arena in Germany looking a guy dressed up as a Nazi officer shooting to the crowd. So they didn't succeed. Nor in other places of Germany, nor in UK, and of course in France. We know that it would happen, but they tried. So we have to be creative and think in another way. What we did was the following. A Holocaust survivor denounced this situation to a prosecutor that if he will come to Argentina and do the same show he's doing in other places in the world, he will be committing a crime. So I was called as an expert witness, and I explained that at least 3 parts of that show are really anti-Semitic. One of them, I told you, be dressed as an SS officer shooting at the crowd. The second one, the famous flying pig with the Star of David. And the third one, while he sings, he compares Shirin Abu Akleh, the Palestinian journalist who was killed in a crossfire between the IDF and the Palestinians, to Anne Frank. These comparisons are to give the idea that Israel is worse than the Nazis, that the IDF is like the SS. So the prosecutor did the following. She notified Roger Waters, his producer, his manager, and the stadium that she will film the show. And if she finds something against the law, the guy will be in prison, and everyone, the other 3, will be accomplices. So he changed the show. The second one, as a federal judge in Argentina, has an X account, and every day he posts another anti-Semitic post. The easiest one is Argentinian Jews are not Argentinian citizens; they are foreigners. Or Free Palestine and Israel is a non-legitimate state. So he don't want us in Argentina and he don't want us in Israel. He don't want us anywhere. So he got a lot of denounces to the body that has to analyze if he is entitled to continue to be as a judge or not. This body is integrated by rectors of law schools, members of the parliament, and the president of the Supreme Court. Again, I was called as an expert witness, and I explained one by one why these posts are anti-Semitic. This was about 15 minutes. The other 45 minutes I was answering the questions of his lawyer. Let me tell you that it reminds me a boxing round when he tried to fight against me and he received the punch. One after another, at the moment I say, Sorry, I respect you as a colleague, but you are, when you are making a question, you are affirming what you are saying. So if these questions are affirmations, you are so anti-Semitic as your client. So maybe you have to be judged. So he asked no more questions. That's only two examples, but we have a lot of them.
Ariel, let me ask you a question that came up in the chat.
Of course.
And I know you've heard this before, that there are those who argue that the definition in IRA is so vague as to be incoherent and not enforceable. My understanding of your view is that there is great power with using the definition. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes, of course. You know, in an international body, you can get the best that you can have. Of course, there are critics on the definitions. Academics wrote another definitions because they can discuss about a comma during 20 years. But we have what we have, and it's the best objective standard to understand when we are in front of an anti-Semitic question or not. The 11 examples are very good. And of course, along its writing, you can read, of course, the 3Ds, the theory of the 3Ds from Nathan Sharansky. Let me explain very quickly. There's a line when a critic crosses, when a critic crosses a line, it is not an acceptable critic, it becomes anti-Semitic question. It is in 3Ds. Double standard, you cannot judge Israel with another standard than other countries. The second one is delegitimize Israel. Israel has the right to exist. And the third one is demonization. Everything that Israel does, it's wrong. If that's A, is wrong. If that's B, also is wrong, because everything it does is wrong. Understanding these three questions, maybe we can disable a lot of arguments like a genocidal state. I can talk a lot about that, but let me tell you, I wrote a little book on that, and I will share with them in PDF, so you can read it. And there's a lot to talk about it, but not in this time.
Thank you. We've got a couple of meaty topics I want to get to, but you
Of
did
course.
reference football clubs. Can you talk a little bit about your focus with respect to football clubs?
Okay. That's very nice that Americans are talking to me to football when it's football and not soccer. We play with feet. Thank you for that. And of course, for Latin Americans, this is part of our common religion. It's more important than other things in our life. So let me tell you something. Maybe of you, you know something about football, soccer. You know that when in the stadiums the referee hears and discriminating or racist chants, he has to stop the game. There's a rule from FIFA, from the International Federation. This rule was invented in Argentina with the Argentinian Football Federation, but the Simon Wiesenthal Center 20 years ago. By that time, the Argentinian Football League president was the vice president in FIFA, so he globalized this. We thought this was not enough. So we began to think in other ideas to get best practices in sports, because it's a place like in music when a guy has cautive audiences and can spread hate speech. So we delivered an 11-point program against racism, xenophobia, and discrimination in sports that is supported by the Organization of American States. And between them, let me explain at least two ideas. One of them, I think it's the most revolutionary one, is that when you buy your ticket online, uh, in the conditions, one of them says, I got this ticket and I will not participate in discrimination, xenophobia, or racism acts. If I do, I'm okay to be expelled from the stadium, not reimbursed the money I paid, and of course, being responsible for the sanctions that the federation will put in the club. In these 3 years, the last 3 years, three of the biggest clubs in Argentina signed this agreement. The last of the points is good things. We have to show also good practices. So since 2021, together with the Argentinian Football League, we gave the Simon Wiesenthal Award to, in the middle of the pitch, the last day of the season, to the club who does the things better. So it's announced in all the crowd and on TV, and they see us giving this award to the club, explaining what they did and what the Simon Wiesenthal Center is. So we have this chance to get into sports, to talk with kids in academia, to explain them against anti-racism and discrimination and all our work outside anti-Semitism. It's hate is hate. So that's why we're very recognized. Let me tell you that 2 months ago, we signed with the biggest club in Argentina, Boca Juniors. And after we did that, I received a call from the CEO of the Brazilian Jewish community. And he told me, we have to do it in Brazil also. And let me tell you something new. This morning, I was talking with my colleague in Europe and the president of the Werder Bremen in Germany. So we decided to reply this initiative also in Europe.
Excellent, excellent. Let me turn to something that's been in the news a lot lately,
Okay.
and that is the investigation of Argentina's Ratlines archives. Can you please describe what the Ratlines were and why are they being investigated now?
Okay. As I told you before, Argentina opens its so-called Nazi archives in 1992. But in the early 2020, March 2020, before the pandemics, I found documentation that was related with Argentinian pro-Nazis before the war, during the war, and after the war, that related them to the finance of the chance that the Nazis could fly away from justice in Europe and get a second opportunity in Latin America. Um, when you began these investigations, you don't know how much it will be and where to finish. So at that time, the Simon Wiesenthal Center told me that I have to write a letter to one of the Swiss banks, asking them to open their archives for us, because we thought that there's something that never was explained and is not part of the agreement that the Jewish communities signed with the Swiss banks in 1999, so not to investigate more on their responsibility on stolen assets. But what I'm trying to get is the profit that these institutions got through this kind of operations. After that, wasn't easy, but the Swiss bank agreed to design to put an independent investigator, an ombudsman, a very recognized U.S. Citizen, and he began his investigation. In 2023, he presented his first findings, and of course, they gave us the truth. They say that what we were saying was real, and they fired him. So, because they want to be part of the New York Stock Exchange, the U.S. Senate began to investigate also this and to support this investigation and made public the findings of the ombudsman. After that, the guy was rehired and he continued his investigation, but he needed more documents. So we got a meeting with President Milei on February last year, asking for more documents that the ones that are opened and we have. Let me explain this. We needed documents that
Mario, when you say we had a meeting, who was in that meeting with the
in that
president?
meeting was an international delegation of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, together with people of our local office. And we asked the president for help because we needed documentation that implies, let me explain, a secret operation allowed to a diplomat to go to Europe with an amount of money to do something we never knew. Never says the word Nazi or nothing like this. But we discovered that this was part of the money that was used to give new identities, that Argentina put an office in Bern, Switzerland, that this bank lended to them, to Argentina, to bribe French and Swiss officers and give new identities to Nazis. Let me explain something. We are not talking about no one. We are talking about Erich Priebke, Josef Mengele, Adolf Eichmann, people like that. They came to live to Argentina, and the president said, yes, you will have all the help you need. Till these days, we are still receiving documentation. And of course, Argentina used this opportunity to put all these documents online. Till today, they were open, but if you want to see them, you had to travel to the National Archives to take a look at them. Today, you can read this in your office online.
How did you find the attitude and approach by the Argentinian president during that meeting?
Oh, well, he was great. Of course, he knew that why we were going, and we took a letter of Senator Grassley asking for help in this investigation. He says, of course, first because it's the right question, the right thing to do. Second, because he supports our people very much. You know, he just a few days ago in New York, he said he's the most Zionist president in human history. And the third question, this is Argentinian politics, is because the guys now in the oppositions are the same party that was in power in 1946. So they will make them dirty. So, but this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. On February 3rd of this year, there was a hearing before the U.S. Senate Judiciary
Yeah.
Committee. I watched the entire thing. It was the most, maybe the only bipartisan action I've seen in the Congress in the last 6 months. Can you talk a little bit about what led to that hearing? And Dr. and Rabbi Cooper from Simon Wiesenthal testified along with the ombudsman. Can you give us your impression of that hearing and the import of it?
Yeah, as I told you, to try to explain what happened there. The last documents they are don't willing to give for investigation, saying that if they gave us this document that are related with that closing that in 1999 the Jewish community signed with the banks, we will ask for money. I think the best argument was done by Senator Cruz. He said, you are stupid. You have to give, first of all, it's truth. You have to give this documentation. If after that you are being sued for more money, use this as a defense. But at this moment, nobody is asking you for money.
Yeah, it was a fascinating hearing with Senator Whitehouse and Cruz. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana was really great, as was
Yeah.
Senator Grassley. Um, so we've talked during this hour a lot about difficulties and anti-Semitism and the problems the whole Jewish people have faced over the years. Um, I know you have hope. Can you speak to that, please? As someone who's been immersed in this for so many years, can you talk a little bit about your hope and why you have hope?
Um, First of all, if I do not having hope, I will not working in this. First, I think that our works matter. Uh, Let me ask you a question. I'm a Jew, so uh, you want me to answer this now, or for a closing after the answering the questions of the guys who are here?
Well, I'm looking. I want to finish with that. I don't see any other
Yeah.
questions in the chat. Does anybody have a question they want to raise their hand and ask it? I'm not seeing any
Uh,
questions.
Can,
Yeah,
can he ask
Kenneth,
one? Just a minute.
Is raising his hand.
Oh,
Ken, you should be
okay.
able to unmute yourself now.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, okay. I unfortunately I missed a good portion of your talk. Did you talk about the attack on the Jewish Community Center in Argentina and what you have? Okay. And has responsibility for that ever been assigned?
Okay, let me tell you about. Let me answer this. Recently, last year, Argentina adopted a new bill, uh, adopting for just for a few cases when terrorism is in the middle, the what we call the judge trial in absentia. So we couldn't finish all the investigation because the Iranians ran away from Argentinian justice, will never come to Argentina for the trial. So with a little luck this year or maybe next year, this trial will take place on that.
And as I recall, there was some investigator that was ready to, yeah, and then he mysteriously, supposedly committed suicide. Has there ever been any
Yeah.
follow-up to that?
Yeah, the justice determined that prosecutor Nisman, the guy who did the investigation of the complicity of people in the government trying to close these investigations together with Iran, um, was found dead one day before he had to testify at the Congress. Um, of course, in government, they said at that time, in 2015, that he suicided himself. The investigation was so badly done that was and so stupid that you have to imagine that a guy who uses his left hand and a hole in the head in the right front head was impossible to do like this with a gun. So they concluded that was murder, but it's impossible to know who was the responsible. But of course, still investigation in progress, but I think that they never will find who pulled the trigger.
I see there's another question.
Yes.
Robert?
It was a little over 40 years ago when Simon Wiesenthal came to a board meeting of the Decalogue Society of Lawyers. And I remember at that time he said one of the most important things that he was working on was treaties, various international treaties with foreign countries. And I heard your presentation about all the different permissions you're getting to do research and everything else. Is that still something that's important to the Wiesenthal Center? And are there additional treaties that are being either formulated or being utilized at this point in order to accomplish the goals?
Of course. Let me give you a few examples. Of course, I'm only entitled to speak about Latin America because it's my region. And everyone in the US knows from school that Argentina equal Nazis. But there's another countries that they received also Nazis, and they never gave the list. Let me talk about your neighbor in the north. They still didn't give the list, and they are not willing to enclosure it. We still have to know what's happened with the Vatican archives. And these two examples are so big that that maybe it's clear why treaties are so important in this.
And I can tell you, Robert, that the Simon Wiesenthal Center is still active. We have an office in Europe.
Yeah.
Rabbi Cooper travels the world to the Far East. And so there are activities undergoing that we're not at liberty to talk about, but I can assure you that they remain top of mind for us.
Let me add something more. This is something not very known, but I really love to say that the Simon Wiesenthal Center was one of the initiators of the Abraham Accords. Many of the work that the Simon Wiesenthal Center did helped to get this normalization with Arab countries.
Okay, maybe that's a good time to turn to your question about hope.
Okay. I will give you, I gave one. I will give you two more answers. One a little longer. One about the conflict we are living today in Middle East. This is not something that is happening today or began 2 weeks ago or 1 year ago. I think we are witnessing the born of a new era, a closing of something that began in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution. The first day after they took power, they had this purpose to export the revolution, and they did. They brought this idea inclusive as I explained in Latin America, every place in the world. I think their highest moment was October 7th. If all the proxies together with Iran would attack together to Israel, other would be the story. Hamas did it alone, and it failed. Hezbollah will fail. The Houthis will fail. The Iraqis militia will fail. Assad failed, and Iran will fail. I don't know what's coming next, but it's a new era, and it's different, as we saw and we witnessed it at the falling of the Berlin Wall. The following world we are seeing, Iran got together countries that had a very weak alliance with other Arab states. At this point, everyone is together with Israel and the United States. So I think something different will come. The second is, yes, about hope. We are not anymore the Jews from 1930s. We defend ourselves. We have a state. We give back. We draw a line. And we are working on that every day of our week, of our day, and of our lives. In Germany, in Europe, in Chicago, in the other offices of the United States, in Latin America, every place that the Simon Wiesenthal Center had an office and an officer. Thank you very much.
Before I give a formal thank you to you, Ariel, I want to first of all remind people, if they didn't see it in the chat, that there's an evaluation poll after the presentation. So please stay on the line for just a few moments so that you can complete this. Again, before thanking you, let me turn it over for brief comments by Karen Peretz, who's the Executive Vice President for Development for Simon Wiesenthal here in the Midwest.
Thank you, Sandy. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you to everybody for joining us and for your thoughtful questions. And thank you again to Decalogue Society. I know Sandy's also going to do some formal thank yous, but I also want to thank Howard Enkin and Sandy for moderating and Dr. Gelblum for joining us. Apologies again that this had to be over Zoom, but we're thrilled that we had such a great attendance. The incredible work that Dr. Gelblum is leading mirrors much of the work we're doing here in Chicago and throughout the Midwest. So I wanted to name just a few of those. We're advocating for legislation that counteracts hate and protects the Jewish community. In fact, my colleagues will be in Springfield next week to fight the anti-BDS legislation making its way through our state legislature. We're educating younger generations about the dangers of hate and giving them the tools to be upstanders rather than bystanders. We'll soon launch our second Illinois MMOT Mobile Museum of Tolerance. These traveling education hubs bring thought-provoking workshops directly to schools and thousands of students every year throughout Illinois. And we're using storytelling, including feature films and TV series, to shine a light on Jewish issues and experiences. Our Academy Award-winning filmmaking division, Mariah Media, recently released our One Day in October TV series, sharing stories of heroism on October 7th, which I encourage everybody to watch if you haven't yet. It's streaming on HBO Max. I'm also excited to let everybody here know about a new signature program that we're bringing to Chicago after a decade of success in New York, called our Next Gen Leaders program, placing college students in summer internships in local government offices. and training them to combat anti-Semitism and advance policy. After the program, we also then support them on campus and throughout their careers. We have several incredible placements already, incredible internship hosts that are signed on for this summer, and student applications are open until the end of this month. So if anybody here is connected to or living with a college student who's still looking for an incredible summer opportunity, I encourage you to be in touch and we'll send you information after this program. And all of this work and so much more is only possible through your involvement and support. So I thank everyone for being here and caring about the same issues that we do. Before we go, I just want to personally invite you to 2 amazing events we have coming up that we'll also email you about. Next month, we're leading fascinating conversations with Ben Freeman, who's the founder of the Modern Jewish Pride Movement. Ben recently published his 3rd book, which is the first book to definitively prove Jews as indigenous to Israel. And we're holding discussions with Ben and Vlad Chaikin, who's the head of our advocacy for SWC. We're going to be at Sinai Congregation in Chicago in April, and then B'nai Tikva Congregation in Deerfield. So if you live in the city or the suburbs, there'll be opportunities to hear him, and we'll send details. And then on June 10th, we have our annual Midwest Gala, which will honor Sarah Crown Starr at Theater on the Lake. Last year's gala was a huge success, and it would be so meaningful to have you and your respective firms there. So I look forward to meeting everybody, not on a screen and in a box, but hopefully in real life in person, and working with you to stand up to anti-Semitism in Chicago, across the country and around the world. So thank you again. I'll turn it back to Sandy.
Ariel, you had a comment?
I got my
Raise your
ticket
hand.
for tomorrow. I got my ticket for tomorrow.
Ariel's coming to Chicago.
Excellent. So I want to thank Ankin Law for offering to host the meeting and then helping us with the Zoom. Certainly the Decalogue Society for all of its action and activity and social action within the Chicago community, and for asking us to participate in this program. Certainly would be willing to schedule future programs if you find it to be of value and of interest to you. And particularly want to thank, again, Dr. Ariel Gelblum, who is having a wonderful stay in New York, but we hope to host him over the next couple of days in Chicago. Thank you so much, not only for today, but for all the incredible work you've been doing for the Simon Wiesenthal Center and the greater Jewish population throughout the world for many years. So travel safe. Thank you, everybody, for participating and staying with us till the end of the program, and please enjoy the rest of your day.